Marc Henry wrapping up the first annual On the Mark Sports Media Day, brought to you by Creative Jones Group and sponsored by Leave Your Mark the Mag. The first issue is dropping this week. Now, this is one of my favorite parts, to talk about ball for real with some of the best in the game. You got Greg Hammer from Hammer Media, Kenny Matthews from FridayNightGlory.com, and my guy Swaggy Whit from the Dub in the building. Let's talk ball. Let's talk ball, man. We got some big games coming out here in DFW. We'll start in DFW. We got a couple around the state of Texas. Kenny, I'll start with you first. Week 1, where are you going? And give me something else you're looking forward to in week 1.
Well, Thursday I will be doing the McKinney against Frisco Emerson. Get to see Malik Hawkins, of course, OU guy. But
hold that against you.
The thing, though, I want to see how McKinney responds after last year. It was a disappointing ending for McKinney last year. There's a lot of expectations for them last year, and new staff that's in there now. I want to see how things have kind of shaken out with them. But of course, the game I'm interested in is down south a little bit, down there in that Houston area.
Absolutely. We'll get everybody's take on that game coming out. My guy, Greg Hammer, one of the best in the business, man, in the building, man. Hammer, where are you going to be week 1?
Week 1, Thursday, I'm going to do North Garland and McKinney Boyd. But Friday, I will be in Denton for Olito's coming in against Geyer. So I've shot that 3 years in a row. So I'm excited about that. Also, in that area, Prosper is going to be playing Westlake. So that's a big one. I think they're playing it in Waco. So those are some games that's going to be interesting.
Absolutely. We're going to get everybody's take on that as well. Swaggy Whit from the Dub, man. Shout out to the Dub, Coach Carr, my guy B. Riser, J Mac, and those guys, man. That's fam. You know what I'm saying? But Swaggy, tell me about your week 1 and where you going.
Oh, man, week 1, I got a quadruple header. Start with Thursday night, Mansfield, Timberview, and Dallas Kimball. I have to go see what the new height in Dallas Kimball's about.
Mm-hmm.
I generate a lot of buzz over there in the summer.
Same here.
Friday, like I told you off camera, my alma mater, I have not missed a game in 20-something years. I have not missed a season opener in 20-something years. So I'll definitely be watching my Carter Cowboys take on Van. Van made a deep playoff run last year. I believe for Coach Gilbert and the Cowboys, this is a big test to take that next step. As you know, they lost to Stephenville last year, Lake Worth year before. I think to get to that next hump, a team like Van will be a great test. Saturday, another team that's a generate a lot of buzz out of the camp this year, North Crowley Lancaster. North Crowley hung 69 points on Allen in the scrimmage the other day on 49 plays, including an 80-yard touchdown run like on the first play. They scored 6 straight times after that on every touch. So I'm exposed to see Chris Jemison in that offense. And the nightcap will be DeSoto and Creekside. I'm hearing a lot of buzz that it shouldn't be a game, but we'll see.
Well, let's talk about North Crowley a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I think that they're one of the teams in the state of Texas that people are going to start to really be fans of. Shout out to Coach Gates. They're 26-2 in the last 2 years. You mentioned Chris Jemison, the North Texas commit. Cornelius Warren, UNLV commit as well. And listen, Daniel Bray is a guy that's been bubbling under the surface, but now he's at North Crowley, and he's made a big emphasis the last 2 weeks, especially this past week in a scrimmage. I think that North Crowley-Lancaster game is going to be a great game. Shout out to my guy, Coach Paul, Carter Jones and those guys, Braylon McDonald, Texas Tech committed in the safety. Kenny, I'll start with you. What do you see in that matchup?
Well, who's going to run the football for Lancaster too? It's big shoes last year to fill there. I think they might not be quite on North Crowley's level just yet. I think it's a real good stepping stone game for them, though, to see kind of where they're at, because they are in the District of Doom. I mean, they're going to see North Crowley a couple times down the road anyway in their own district.
Right.
So you'd like to kind of see how you match up physically with them on that side. But the job that Coach Gates has done, I mean, it seems repetitive, and I hate kind of talking about the same thing over and over. What he's did is phenomenal. He has made that city care about football overnight.
Right.
I mean, it was overnight. I mean,
Right.
that ink wasn't dry on that contract, and they were already excited about it. And it even spills over to Coach Lynn what he's doing in Crawley. I know that's a different story. I know that's a different story. I apologize for that.
Right.
But it seemed like this summer, I was telling somebody here today, every hour or every other hour is another offer to a North Crawley's prospect.
Right.
That team is loaded.
Right.
Can they get past the big dog or not?
Right.
That's the big question here. But I think them taking on in Lancaster this early, man, that's good for them. I mean, his schedule's brutal anyway. That's on there. I mean, he had to do it that way because they've been kind of breezing through the district schedule. You got to get tough early. But man, that's a phenomenal game on record for sure.
Absolutely. Hammer, Lancaster, Crowley, two teams that are on the upswing. Tell me what you think about that game.
I feel the same way. I think North Crowley, they've been knocking on the door, and I think this year they're gonna bust it down. So, I mean, Lancaster, like you were saying, it's a good test, and also Lancaster is improving, and I see a big jump for them this year. But I think North Crowley is going to be a little too much this year.
So they also have one of the top tackles in the country in John Turntine III. He's one of those highly recruited guys. Jonathan Cunningham's a hook 'em horns commit. I had to throw that in there. You know what I'm saying? Because Kenny's sitting here on the defensive side. I think they're loaded, but I think Chris Jemerson's ability to pass Swaggy, you spoke about that. Talk about Chris real quick.
Man, you talk about phenomenal. You talk about phenomenal. You got to think, DJ Bailey last year for DeSoto was a back-to-back state champion.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Jemerson, to me, if he's in a different class, we could be talking about a 3-time state champion right now in that. So I say that to say this. Chris Jemerson is a veteran. He's a 3-year starter coming to this year. He has the most veteran experience of all. Carter Jones, on the flip side, was he was switching back and forth with Pittman. So
when they finally made the transition, that's why they went on that run last year.
They did. Carter Jones definitely stepped up big time last year and led Lancaster on that run, which I really think, oh man, that conversion, we could have been talking about a different story right now.
Absolutely.
We could have been talking about a magical story right now if we won that conversion. I do believe Lancaster would have won the state championship last year.
Absolutely.
If that would have happened. But back to Jemerson, like my man said, I think Jemerson take the next step. I think North Crowley as a whole take the next step. You lost to Duncanville last year, of course, the way you did. I believe they come back this year with a chip on their shoulder, like he said, like Kenny said, that schedule, you got to make a schedule like that to make that run, especially in Class 6A Division I. I said it once, I said it again. I don't think we see Duncanville North Shore again. I think we see North Crowley North Shore. I got North Crowley taking the 6A championship this year.
He called it.
Hey, you can't get it nobody. You heard it first right here. Look, Swaggy is always one of those guys that steps out on the ledge, and if he falls off, he does. But that's a big prediction. Now, I think that they're ready, and they got a big week 2 matchup against DeSoto. You know what I'm saying? That's a whole nother show in itself. But let's visit Guyer Alito. Hammer, I'll start with you. You're one of those guys that's up there. You've seen this Guyer team this spring. You've seen them this fall. Guyer has one of the best 2027 classes in the state. We just had Zephyr Cry here, star quarterback that's on that squad. You got Zane Rowe, Kyron Haywood. Guyer's loaded. Speak about this game. You got a big matchup week 1.
Well, I mean, we're going to know. I mean, this is the test right here. I mean, we don't wait till week 4, week 5. This is week 1. You're going to know what type of team you're going to have for the rest of the year. I mean, you can't get any, they 12 state championships. They won it last year. The only thing is, I saw the last 3 games. When we went there with Jackson Arnold and we won over there. Then I saw them against Ryan when they came and that quarterback, turned the corner. And I seen him again last year against Ryan with a minute left, and he turned the corner, okay? So what I'm saying is, Alito's always good, but that quarterback was special in pulling out games. I know they probably have a really good quarterback right now, but this guy, if they bring another one like that, oh man, come on. You know what I'm saying? But It's going to be interesting because Geyer has experience. He's a vet. He's coming in. He's coming into Oklahoma, so you have someone to lead the team. You have some of those freshmen that started varsity that are sophomores now. You have that sophomore class that was really good that are juniors. So we're going to see. I can't say, but it's going to be interesting.
Absolutely.
That's all.
It's going to be a burn out of week one. But listen, I hate to bust your bubble, but they do have a quarterback coming in, Gavin Beard. He's a guy that you're going to know about probably halfway through the season. They still have Racing Guillory Jr., who's one of the best running backs in the country. That offensive line has a kid named Williams in it.
Yes.
They also have, one of the best receivers in the class 2026 in Caden Finley. Kenny, you know about this matchup. Speak on it just a little bit.
Well, can we talk about the job that Robbie Jones did last yeyear?
Following Coach Buck.
I mean, you're following a Texas legend, and all you did was just go win another state championship.
Right.
I mean, it was a little underappreciated what the job he did. People just expected him to do that because of the talent level. But you and I both know talent doesn't make you hoist trophies over your head.
Absolutely.
It's about what those guys on that sideline are doing, getting those guys ready. But for this game, to me, I remember talking to somebody last week. Alito was the first time that I was sitting down there in Texas Stadium, at Jerry's World last year. And, when Duncanville walked by, they looked like a college team. When North Shore walked by, it looked like a college team. When Alito walked by me last year, it looked like a college team. And that was the first time I said, they measure up, on the trenches, along the trenches there. Maybe they don't have the volume of skill players that those two schools have, but they measure up in the trenches. And now they're back to old Alito football, trying to run the football. I think Alito is, to me, the number one team, and I think they're going to win state, and then they're going to take care of business against, I think, a very good Geyer team. Don't get me wrong. I'm not hating on Geyer here. I just think the experience and the trench warfare. Now they're going up against Garcia and Haywood on the other side, so that's going to be some heads hitting each other for sure this weekend. Absolutely. And you're going to walk out of there. And I call this an ice pack game. Yeah. Because they're going to be in that cooler on Saturday. Yes. Yeah. And they may not play week 2. Right. Some players because of this game here, but it's a huge stepping stone game for Geyer. I think Geyer has every incentive to win this game to put them back, talking about them being a state champion. Alito, it's just business as usual. Right.
I think that they can do it and they can back it up. They got 12 state championships. It's a thing when you go out to Alito to a game. It's like Friday Night Lights. Everything shuts down. There's nobody, none of the businesses there, and you can see when you pull in, the lights are on. It's an Alito home game. Now, I want to throw this question that's big in forums and medias and around the DFW area. Everybody's tired of seeing Duncanville. Everybody's tired of seeing DeSoto. Everybody's tired of seeing North Shore. Well, in my opinion, you got to beat the big dog to beat a big dog. You know what I'm saying? Swaggy, I'll start with you because you know exactly what I'm talking about. Fans and other communities are tired of seeing the same old or hearing the same old song. But I think you can play it over and over and over, just like you wear a good song out. You got to beat them to beat a guy.
Well, there's a 16-time world champion who wears gray hair, and he loves to say the word "woo" out there. And he's famous for saying these famous lines: "To beat a man, you got to beat the man." And it's that simple. But just like I stated a while ago, I think North Crowley is that biggest threat to Duncanville. As far as DeSoto goes, I don't think there's a threat, but I do believe if Cedar Hill somehow goes Division II, I think they're gonna be that threat to them. I think that that DeSoto Cedar Hill game this year is gonna be a lot more closer, and it can swing either way this year. I don't think DeSoto is a sure head walk in and win on that one. Far as what was the other thing you said?
Everybody wants to see somebody else go to Jerry Ware, somebody else in state, but I think you got to beat those guys in order to get there. You got to knock them off. You know what I'm saying? If you're a big dog and you step off the porch, you got to prove it week in and week out. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, just like I stated earlier, you want the crown, you got to take it. Like Alito, for example, I think Red Oak is the biggest threat to doing that this season. But like you said, you want that crown, you gotta go take it. And if those guys continue to wear that crown, if they wear that crown for 3 straight years, hey, what can you say?
Kenny, we hear this kind of talking, fever pitch, especially when it gets close to each season. The usual suspects are at the top, but you got to dethrone them. Talk about that just a little bit.
Well, speaking of DeSoto, South Lake Carroll gets 4 turnovers in a game and still can't win it. You know, there's a gap.
It's levels to it.
Yeah, there's a gap. You know, I mean, you got to keep inching to close it, but getting over that hurdle is another thing. Right. You know, I said you getting close is one thing. The Houston Oilers got close to beating the Steelers those years, but they couldn't kick in the door.
Right.
I mean, so you've got to eventually be the big boy out there and kick the door down and win.
Right.
Do I think North Crowley can do that? Sure, I think North Crowley can do that. But do I think that's going to happen this year? No, I don't think it's going to happen. I think Duncanville, they have one thing that most people in the state do not have. It's called competitive depth in practice. You are a starter at Duncanville for that week. You may not be the starter the next week because that guy behind in practice, you've been knocking your heads over there, and it's better than you now. So that's the reason that separates that gap.
Right.
You know, you can have that run. I think North Crowley's had a tremendous run. South Lake Carroll had a tremendous run. But when you get to week 15 and 16, man, you're tired.
Right.
Duncanville says, oh, well, heck, we'll just put in our second guy.
Right.
He's just as good as this guy, if not more talented.
Absolutely.
And if that guy behind that center keeps playing the way he played last year, they're unbeatable.
Yeah.
Because Keelan Russell is the best quarterback in the state of Texas now.
Right.
Period.
Right.
And there's no question now.
Right.
You could have questioned it last year.
Mm-hmm.
You can't question it now.
Right.
So if he doesn't throw to the next team or put the ball on the turf, you tell me you're going to score 35 against that defense?
Absolutely.
No, you're not scoring 35 against that defense.
Yep.
So, I mean, to me, the magic number for Duncanville is to get 31. Because Duncanville's not going to give up more than 28 in the game.
Right. Right, Hammer, you got to knock them off to be the big dog.
And I, I say this every day. And I said, look, if you want to win a state championship in the state of Texas, there's only one thing you got to do. You got to go through the South. And I'm up north, and I tell them every day. I said, you might as well go down and look at them right now. Because that's who you're going to see. I tell them, and they know. I mean, to win the state, you got to go through the South. And being the big dog, I just want to say, Highland Park, for I don't know how many years, I would be at the game and be my, Ryan, right? So until you kick the door down and finally win it, right? And that's what you're talking about. So they did. So that's what needs to happen. I mean, until that happens, it's going to be the same.
I happen to see, I picked Spencer Sanders and those guys at Ryan for several years, but, John Stephen Jones and them had, and they had a difference, it just was something that you don't see that, those dynasties. We had Coach Spencer and, South Oak Cliff here earlier, and they talked about building a dynasty. And they're hungry to get back. So we'll get you guys thoughts on the North Shore South Oak Cliff game. I think that North Shore is loaded. Caleb Bailey has a chip on his shoulder. He won it as a freshman. Got a little injured there.
Yep.
Last year they came back.
Yep.
They didn't get it. He's on a mission from what I've been seeing and what I've been told. They got the #1 cornerback in the country in Devin Sanchez. They got Quanell X as well, Dion DeBlanc. Now you flip it on the other side. From what I've been hearing, South Oak Cliff offensive line is better than they had last year. They're coming in with some guys on the defensive side. We had 2 of their linebackers in Jamarian Phillips and Jaden Shelton here. Marcel Gibson, class of 2026 cornerback, is a guy that I'm really, really high on. He's back. You can't look over what South Oak Cliff has done as a team, but this is a monumental matchup, and I will be there going down I-45 Friday. Kenny, I see you shaking your head. Tell me what you think about this matchup.
Well, I kind of treat this the same way I treat the Geyer Alito. Every incentive for South Oak Cliff to try to win this game. The champion's there. They're established. Right. We all know. I mean, I know Gaston's not going to be there in a 2-game suspension for North Shore, but you have to go in there and prove that you step up. Now, obviously South Oak Cliff's stepping up in classification here too.
Sure.
we got to realize that also. And you're going up against a team that's been Jerry's World 5 straight years.
Right.
They know how to get there. Now, South Oak Cliff, Coach Todd, what he's done there with the offensive side of the ball was what we thought had to kind of carry them last year. But you remember at the end of the year, that defense was the one that was really getting the job done for them, and they had to replace 10 starters. You know, you got guys coming back this year now with that experience. And losing the way they did, justified or not, we're not going to get into that controversy of how they lost that game. You know, we're not going to do that because, I mean, it's still a loss.
Right.
You know, regardless of whatever side you pick on it, it's still a loss there.
Right.
You got to tell me that Coach Todd is not ringing that in their ear 25 hours a day, not 24, 25 hours a day. You got a hungry defense. Yeah. Now you got to stop them, and I think it's going to be really tough to stop Caleb Bailey in his senior year. I think he's probably one of he's not on DJ's at DeSoto's level last year, but he's underappreciated.
Right.
He definitely is. I think if he was at Westlake or Lake Travis, we'd be talking about him being right next to Keelan Russell, but that's not the case.
Right.
Play different offenses, so I get that.
Right.
But I do think that I know that North Shore will win the game, but I want South Oak Cliff to go in there and just play a physical, drag-out football game. Maybe it's back and forth, whatever. Because if that happens, you better look at South Oak Cliff going back to Jerry's World 4 times in a row.
Right. Well, I think that's the reason Coach Todd's schedule is just like this, because they're going to have to go on the road. That really 5A Division II is loaded across the state. You got Argyle here. You got Richmond Randall, and you also have Fort Bend Marshall and those guys down in the Houston area. Listen, it's loaded, man. Hammer, what are your thoughts on this game?
You know, just like what Kenny said, you know, North Shore, you know, they've been there and they haven't won it, and they got a chip on their shoulder. And so I'm gonna give the edge to North Shore, but I think it's gonna be a closer game. And I think, you know, they do that every year, Sock. And when they start peaking, you better look out, because they're gonna be there again. So that's pretty much how I'm gonna call that one.
I think the defense, like you said, Kenny, was strong at the end. They shut down Lovejoy. They shut down Melissa. Yep. They shut down Emerson as well, all the way until they got a
Heritage
offensive juggernaut, you know, coming in. That was a stretch run that you don't see in high school football. And that's why I know you were there for most of those matchups last year. We talked about this a little bit off camera. North Shore Sock matchup. What do you think about this game?
I think for Sock, it comes down to one thing. Sock has the defense. I attended the Sock Cedar Hill scrimmage this past week. They defense didn't give up nothing. Sock, it comes down to quarterback play. You're replacing a two-time champion, one-time champion, two-time title appearance quarterback. You're replacing Danny Green, who was an outstanding running back. Mm-hmm. Khalil, who's an outstanding running back. You losing Ennis at receiver. You losing all the other receivers they had. That's what's gonna come down to. South Oak Cliff, as a whole defense, they're unstoppable. Like you read, Marcel Gibson, I believe he is definitely on my radar to be someone to watch. Tobias Gary is also outstanding. Kamari Morgan, all of that, that's gonna be there. I think for this game, it's gonna be, can you outscore North Shore? Mm-hmm. Can you outscore them? Your defense is gonna go out there and do what they gotta do. They're gonna play. You gotta remember, you go up against Duncanville every year. You go against the Sotos every year. So you built for this. Mm-hmm. The question is, can Kopecki take that next step? Can he step into this game Friday night and be that leader? If he goes to Galena Park Stadium, ISD Stadium, and be that leader, South Oak Cliff will walk out of there with a victory. If he doesn't, North Shore's gonna win this game. My prediction on this,
we waiting.
Okay, I'm Houston's born. I'm born in Houston. I'm from Houston, Texas, but I reside here in the DISD, and I'm definitely gonna give the edge to my buddy Coach Todd and the Golden Bears. I'm gonna take a South Oak Cliff 17-14 knockout. Drag out.
That's the kind of game they got to win, though.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, right. I agree. If they're going to win that game, it's got to be.
I'll put it like this: I won't pick a winner, but if it's close in the fourth quarter, anything goes. I think if they go into Galena Park, which is going to be a hostile environment on the road, week one, you know, it's a different kind of heat down there in Houston as well. You got to look at those elements. It's very humid. It's a night game coming into that on the road. This is where you have to pack your lunch pail. This is the type of game that's going to be super physical. And if you listen to Coach Todd and those guys talk about, they want these physical games right at the beginning because they're going to have Duncanville week 2, and then they go to East Texas to face Longview. They'll be playoff ready by 3 games into the season. Yeah. And this is the reason that they've been successful, and this is the reason that I think that they are one of those teams that'll be a state title contender, man. But listen, man, it's been a great day here at the first.
Can I tell you one thing before we close?
Go ahead.
We're on the national stage. We got five teams out of the dub in the top 10 in the nation. Absolutely. So we got to point that out. Come on now. Absolutely. 5 out of the top 10 in the state of Texas. Absolutely. I mean, in Dallas. So
absolutely.
That District of Doom, we're gonna have 2 teams,
national powers.
2 teams that are not gonna make the playoffs that can make runs.
Circle October.
They can make runs in the playoffs if they're in another district.
Yeah. And
you're legitimately have 6 playoff teams in that district.
You made a point earlier, Swag. I think that Cedar Hill's taking that next step. Yeah. Coach Ward's established his program over there.
Yes.
That's to be seen. That's the argument.
Yeah.
I was intrigued, impressed with Cedar Hill performance the other night. I feel like they went out there and they made a statement. Like, they went out there and auditioned for the District of Doom, showing, hey, we playing South Cliff right now. We're coming for y'all. So that can be Lancaster, Waxahachie. We're coming for y'all. Then you schedule a Red Oak on the schedule. That's a marquee game to get ready for that district. So I do believe Cedar Hill has what it takes to compete, not only in the district, but actually for a district championship.
I mean, think about Mesquite Horn. They got Division I talent on that team. You think they're gonna get 4th in that district? No. It's not gonna happen.
Well, it's a district where you can't take a week off.
No, it's not gonna happen.
There's no weeks off in the District of Doom.
It's the SEC.
It's the SEC right there. Right.
It is.
Right.
It is.
It is. Watching some of these games, the Bishop Gormans and St. Thomas Aquinas and those teams around the country, put them in that district and see how they fare. You do got St. Francis coming to see Duncanville.
Mm-hmm.
But Lancaster, it's just sad, man, that you move up to 6A and you go right into that gauntlet. Like, after just going to round 5 and 5A, you move up and go to that gauntlet. Like, can you do that to me? Like, wow, really? Like, y'all moved me from 5A with Longview, Forney, McKinney North, and y'all put me in this district? Like,
well, I think on the flip side, you got to know that Coach Paul and those guys embrace that. They were counted out early by a lot of people, and they came and they were the scariest team in the state of Texas and made a deep playoff run.
Yep.
I think that's the signal.
I think they're feeding off of that too.
Card. Yeah, that's their calling card. I think that they, so the experts are saying they're not looking at those guys and they think they're going to struggle. Listen, not so fast, my friend. It's the kind of season that they're going to have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that those guys will really be floating around 3 or 4. It's going to be a knockout, drag out regardless every week in that district. And it's right here in the DFW.
But I will say this. Like Kenny said, there's going to be a 6-4 team on the outside looking in.
Yeah.
They could go 2 and 3 rounds in the playoffs if they were just in District 12.
Yeah.
They were just in District 12.
Right.
They can get to 2nd, 3rd round.
Yeah.
But they're at home.
Right.
Right after Halloween.
Playoff.
Absolutely.
Playoffs.
Well, look, just think about the by-district round, and you're facing the 4th place team out of that district. You got to be ready to bring your lunch, man. I mean, it's something that you got to look forward to.
I mean, that's like Cedar Hill last year. 4th place.
When it smashed
went out there and won by 60 points.
Right.
Like, who saw that coming?
Right.
So anything can happen.
Right. Well, listen, man, I appreciate y'all coming out to the first annual On the Mark Sports Media Day. Listen, follow us here. Shout out to Creative Jones, Hammer Media, Friday Night Glory, and the Dub for showing up. Everybody that came out, man. Listen, it's going to be on and popping. Appreciate my guys, Coach Ryan and Coach Mook from Elite Sports University right here in Lancaster, Texas. We out.